1, 2, 3, 4. One-legged Roger and his one-legged mother lived in a house in downtown Atlanta.
But now it just seems like an opportunity of doing something that I would be interested in. Or when I have the conversation, lean with that. Like, what am I interested in with the person that I'm interviewing?
Let's face it, we all get feedback. A third is, this is the best teacher I've ever had, my favorite teacher of my entire college career.
Mm-hmm.
And a third, NA, not applicable, no comment. And then a third, like, someone needs to call the cops on this teacher. And it's valid, not every style of teaching is right for everyone.
Hello, David.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can.
You are such a kidder.
Yeah.
You look fantastic.
You look pretty good yourself, man.
No, I feel like I'm triangle head. I feel like I look like the kid from Mask. Like my head is way too big for my body.
These cameras do create a wide angle effect. So
is that what it is?
I've been learning from YouTube shows as Hot and Flashy how to properly light your face. I moved my desk so that there's a window like right there, so you can see the natural diffused light.
I need to do that.
And I also see this as opposed to here, right?
Yeah.
Here, right here. Oh, yes. You don't see my extra chins.
You only have the one chin.
I have no chins. This is the time that I've spent being self-quarantined in my house.
How's Oklahoma?
It's hey, we're in the middle of nowhere where there's only 30 cases in our entire county of COVID-19, but unfortunately our spring shows were canceled, our dance concert was canceled, our award ceremonies were canceled. So our department had significant earned income. We have a significant earned income hole to dig out of. But I certainly we're in far better shape than a lot of nonprofits across the country. Our enrollment is actually up. We, as a department, did really significant recruitment efforts all year long. Mm-hmm. So we are, I feel, very strong, and will at this point be moving back to in-person instruction in the fall.
And that decision has been made?
That, as far as we know, that's the word from our President Hargis, that we were coming back in the fall. Our summer camps have all been canceled. I have a meeting with Lookingglass at 2:00 today, so I'll be finding out a little bit more about what's happening with my home company. They, of course, had to, back in March, right after opening Her Honor, the story of Jane Byrne, that show opened. It got good reviews, and then promptly closed a day later, because the mayor and the governor did the right thing and shut things down. So now Lookingglass is trying to come back from that. We're trying to do some online instruction, and there's other developments that are being discussed today. So you're getting the up-to-the-minute update.
That's where I edit in the news flash. Summer camps, we've done a couple of them together. We've done a lot, actually.
Yeah, David, we've done quite a bit together. Lookingglass and at
UIC,
at University Illinois Chicago campus. You and I during the summer got to do several devising summer intensives. Summer intensive for rising seniors, getting them ready for a college experience. If I remember correctly, we definitely did one intensive devising on the issue of identity. Mm-hmm. I am completely blanking on what the other one Was
we did the social media addiction.
oh yeah. Isn't that funny? No, it's not an addiction. It's a necessity.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
we are. This is us now.
yeah. That's funny. Yeah, we saw it as a threat to live instruction, and now just a few years later, we are much more interactive. It's much faster. The platforms, web-based platforms, and so we're able to actually interact in a live way. I think we're going to be finding much more innovation this year from theater production companies in onboarding online live interactive experiences. I think that for those of us that have the ability to adapt, I don't see this going away in terms of us fully going back to theater companies just producing in-person live experiences. I think that it will be smart for us as an industry to find a percentage of the online experience as a place to further communicate our brand, to invent live online interactions and monetize those interactions. I think are going to be key for the growth of our industry and the stability of our industry. There's some that I think will continue to ring the death knell of that an interactive internet platform is a threat to live theater, but that's been going on for 150 years. Radio was the death of theater, TV, death of theater, film, the death of theater. It's proved otherwise. Theater will always be there. Live theater is a ritual that human beings need, and that will continue. As long as we are creative, imaginative, inventive beings, we will need theater, and will continue to go to live, a live experience. We are the fabric of society, and we're proving that. I guess I would say anybody watching this, if you have clown skills, I invite you to be an entrepreneur and get out. Mm-hmm. I am only half kidding. In fact, I'm not kidding at all.
The number you have dialed has been changed.
I have to put my branding on here.
That looks good.
Yeah, this is now I'm official.
Yeah, your stud meter just went up.
And then I put this on the other side where we're at. We've really changed as a department coming in here, and so.
That you belong in OSU theater.
Yeah. After 8 years of adjuncting in Chicago, at just about every university there, Northwestern, DePaul, Roosevelt, Lake Forest, UIC, right? I was everywhere, and really loved teaching at all these places, and did workshops at Loyola and University of Chicago. And so I got a sense of many different universities, but it wasn't until I expanded my search outside of Illinois that I really was able to gain purchase. That was a tough one, right? I have family and a company in Chicago. I've been doing a lot of flying to do my research, to direct, act, see my kiddos. And so expanding that work that I did, I spent a year in 2016 leading a program at Monterey Peninsula College as an interim chair. I was able to then do some work at the Alley Theater in Houston. I was then professor of directing at UW-Madison. And then this past year, lucky enough to become the head of theater at Oklahoma State University, along with my wife, Jenny Lamb, who is a physical theater artist. And Jenny has her MFA from Del Arte International School of Physical Theater. She's doing her clown class right now, and acting class. Synchronistically, physical theater right out there and in her studio. And it's amazing. I think she should be her next interview, because she's really getting it done in a way that is so exciting. And our students, they're really not complaining about online. I mean, we're all complaining. This is not ideal, but the learning hasn't stopped. There's nothing lesser than about the instruction that these students are receiving, and we're figuring it out. We're all figuring it out.
There are things that I might have, by my own laziness or justified fear, not done.
Yeah.
I feel like this is helping me put the cart back where it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
do the work,
Yeah.
and give it over to the students.
What that means is just stay true to your practice. Become a better communicator. Invite the students to come to learning within a structured environment. That studying the arts, whether it be your major, minor, or just elective, that it not only augments other areas, that it is core.
I think to myself, it has value. It always has. And there's talent everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, here's the best kept secret. I see nothing but opportunity for growth here in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, 2 hours away from Wichita, Kansas. Dallas is just a 3-hour shot down. So there's lots of areas for research. These areas are growing and it's affordable. So I just call to those that were like myself, thinking I could never live in a place like that. Check out Mississippi, check out Missouri, check out Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska. There's amazing arts growth and a desire from those communities to invest in the arts. You've heard it here. My prediction is a lot of folks are going to be moving to the middle of the country because it's more affordable. They get there and realize, oh, this is really nice. I was pleasantly surprised coming to this area.
College, when you were a student, you and your friends who created Lookingglass, you were so close to the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
But Chicago wasn't really thought of as a theater city when you were in college, was it?
So I went to school back in the 80s at Northwestern University. And during my junior and senior year, there were a couple of us that started working together that we saw ourselves as inventing a form of theater that was a response to what we called talking head theater. Talking head theater, I think, would be a kind of theater that whether you were watching it or just closed your eyes and listened to it, that there would be no difference. That the story was being basically told from here to here, and there was no physical interaction, or for that matter, anything visually or physically inventive going on in the images that were being created. That there was that traditional theater skewed towards realism, and that was considered serious work. And so we pulled from innovators from this in the 80s. So we looked at some of the work that was happening in the 60s. For instance, Andre Gregory's work on Alice with his production of Alice. What is required in a kind of theater that allows its creators to work separate from the pressures, financial pressures of a producing organization. So what if you allowed the creation of work to happen as long as it needed to be at its best? Now, there's two forms of thought here. One is studying ensemble just for the sake of studying ensemble without having a goal and a structure. Is that going to create something, or does the phrase, the necessity being the mother of invention, do we need that? Do you need that brass ring to get what you need? So do you need to give yourself a date? Like, we need to have this show ready by X. Because I've worked both ways. And we've actually worked collaboratively at Lookingglass both ways. So in the beginning, we were mirroring the work that Andre Gregory did on their adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. We were mirroring the Living Theater's work and Jean-Claude Van Natale's work. From that, we wanted to continue working. Evanston is a northern suburb of Chicago. We actually hadn't even, once we all graduated, we were a little nervous to venture down into Chicago. In fact, our first, we did the sequel to Alice, Through the Lookingglass. I directed that, and we were actually rehearsing in hidden areas of the Northwestern Library. Having already graduated, we performed that show in a gardener shack called Shanley. Now it's called Shanley Pavilion. I don't know if they still produce there, but we would call it the shack, right? You'd perform there as a student. Well, we performed there having graduated. I think I think at that point, I think somebody hadn't paid their library fine, so they were still a student, and we were allowed to be there. But then finally from there, and we spent, I don't know, 5-6 months rehearsing this show that performed. I think it had a $50 budget. We performed it twice. So definitely it skewed more towards process than product. Then we moved down into Chicago. We were on the south side, Chicago South Loop, in a warehouse that someone who was building a sound design studio and a nightclub and wanted some performance elements. So we renovated an area next to them to create a performance space. And then after that, we're itinerant for 15 years, where we would keep doing this. We would think of a show, or rather, it would work like this. Mary Zimmerman would hold up a book and say, okay, I want to adapt the Arabian Nights. And that was the proposal, at that time, that was the proposal process. We'd all meet in a room and say, I want to do this show. Okay, let's do it in 3 months. So we would all, one of our company members had a family place out in Maine, and we'd all go out there and workshop it for a month, and then did a version of it out there, and then brought it back to Chicago. And so there was a kind of this hybrid mixture of, okay, we're going to give ourselves a date, but we felt comfortable starting without a script. And I think that came from a trust with each other, a trust in the process, a trust in each other's ability to recognize and give over to the group to create and to be cognizant of finding the best idea in the room, but then also strong leadership. So I think that the way that we work, oftentimes the director is also the author. That's not always the case, but in the beginning, we felt comfortable giving over leadership to that individual who had the best idea, and we go with that. And then that person would be in charge of the process. So they would decide, okay, I'm going to be 100% the writer and work in a more authoritarian way, or I'm actually going to come up with a more collaborative process and share leadership. But it was up to that one individual who was in charge of the process, right? We would give over that power.
Back in this time, was your engine acting still? Did you transition from actor to more of a creator director, or have you always been, I'm interested in acting, but I also direct and I want to produce this? Or, because if you look at the old Lookingglass pictures,
Yeah.
you're featured as an actor alongside your ensemble members a lot.
Yeah. We were all actor, director, creators back then. I feel like we were a collective of artists, and each one of us was multi-talented, and I think that's what attracted each other to each other, is that we recognize that. Okay, so for instance, one of our folks that kind of was able to gain celebrity is David Schwimmer. But he always was a leader. He was a director and an actor. I also was a director actor, but also a designer. I was really interested in lighting design early on. Mm-hmm. I ended up, because the technology was changing so quickly, I ended up after about 5 or 6 years as a lighting designer, kind of backed off on that and really focused on acting and directing. I would say now I'm more a director. Just that's what I got my terminal degree in directing. And so for the past 15 years, I've been more focused on directing, but I still act, but less frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of looked like this since I was 19. So it's taken me, I think I'm now finally have grown into my look. So I think there's going to be some big announcements on my emerging acting career.
David, you finally come into your casting.
Yeah. We're all calling into a Zoom call today at 2:00 to get an update on how the company's doing. You know, we had to cancel show and get it open, cancel it, and then are postponing. We're actually bringing back David Catlin's Alice this summer. Now it's supposed to open in a few weeks, and it's postponed. And so I think we're getting an announcement about how that's going to be produced this summer. And I think that in many ways, what we found is that part of our brand is celebrating our original work, but that like a dance company like Alvin Ailey, who is able to bring back, say, some of their work like Revelations, we feel comfortable bringing back our work because we are a boutique theater. We only have a few hundred seats. So even if we run a show all summer long, there's relatively a small percentage of our national theater going audience that gets to see our shows. So we try to bring them back so that people can see it. And it also it's a good business model because for us, we only have that one performance space. We are looking at expanding. We're at the Water Tower Waterworks, the pumping station just off Loop in Chicago. For those that aren't familiar with Chicago, or might be a little bit, it's that castle-looking building. So we're able to finally take over an area building where we're going to be building a second performance space. But up until this point, we've only had the one space. So what that means is when we want to take an artistic risk, which is every single time,
Mm-hmm.
we got to figure out what's the business plan to be able to premiere new work constantly. And so what we found is doing a couple bringbacks, so that there's shows that have been tested, that have been refined, bringing those back, especially during the summer, because that's when you have a lot of tourists coming to Chicago who haven't been able to experience Lookingglass. So we often try to do a bring back or something that would have wider appeal during the summer. Kind of similar way other companies will do a holiday show, right? So we're trying to take advantage of having a summer show, having some kind of holiday offering that currently, for the past couple seasons, we've been doing Mary Zimmerman's Steadfast Tin Soldier original adaptation. And coming up, we actually have another bring back happening with this year. Coming year will be The Odyssey, right? Which was a show that when we first moved into Chicago, and this was 1990, had done Mary Zimmerman's adaptation of The Odyssey. So we're bringing that one back after all these years, which is really exciting, right?
Right.
Here we are celebrating this thing. I can't believe this, 30 years later, right? And
The amount of life that you all have lived up to this point. Yeah. Crazy.
And so, yes, that should be celebrated and performed, and let's all see this show again. And some of us will be performing in the show again. So that's exciting.
Is it a correct assumption to think that this space is coming from maybe a conversation within the group that why does every show have to be a hit? What are we just looking for the next hit now? Or was there a period where, because I know 20,000 Leagues that you directed was incredible, but it was so mammoth. It was so huge and expensive that
we made it look expensive. And I would say yes. That's the Lookingglass's greatest asset, and our greatest foible is that we always make it look like we've spent millions and millions of dollars. Now for us, we have used all of our resources to get it done, but we know how to do a lot with a little. And now that show was relatively, for us, expensive to produce, but we also knew that it was a name brand in terms of Jules Verne, that it would appeal to a large audience. That's that Lookingglass sweet spot. But it also appealed to, it was presented in a very experimental, abstract way, but it was palatable to a large swath of audience. It's tough, right? To find, not every intellectual property is going to have that. So we try to do our best to at least have the season have some of those things that are a hit. Now, here's the problem is that when you have a small theater, just running the numbers, yeah, every show does need to be a hit. So that's why having this second space is going to be so important, where we can stay true to our mission to make theater accessible to all, and to stay true to our core values of invention and collaboration and transformation. So this is, for us, staying true to our mission to raise the capital to build this second space in the Water Tower Waterworks.
Have you felt the relationship improve since you've been away from Chicago? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, or is it more difficult?
I have much better perspective. I would say that being able to kind of see Lookingglass from a distance has certainly raised my appreciation of what we've created there, and seeing other systems in other places and comparing that to the work that we did and continue to do at Lookingglass. I'm proud of it. I'm also proud that we created a company that is larger than its individual parts, that Lookingglass is surviving just fine without me there every day, and has been for 15 years and will continue to. That said, we still depend on our individual members to feed the machine, and that we can pull away, but we can't completely disappear. That in order for Lookingglass to stay true to its mission, we have to constantly refine and remind those newer members of the company, here's the foundation that we built the company on. Here's why that mission needs, here's the key components of the mission and why we chose to do it. And now ask you that are there every day, what are new ways that you can innovate to stay true to the mission? What are new ways that you can innovate to stay true to the mission? What are new ways that you can innovate to stay true to the mission? I'm so grateful that I have a place to come home to in Chicago. I still propose shows to direct there, and the company still reaches out to me for needs and ideas and opportunities, artistic opportunities for me. I've been able to bring folks from Lookingglass out to do workshops here at OKSTaTe. Different artists like yourself have been so generous zooming in to my classes and talking about the history of what it's like in Chicago theater, New York and LA theater and film industry and TV. And that, so having that network and maintaining that network is so important. And I just feel, I don't know, it's like moving here helped me kind of hit the reset button. And the word that just keeps coming to me is just grateful. I feel like the luckiest person on earth, that I built something and the flame hasn't gone out.
And the uniqueness that I'm seeing from yourself and theater companies that I do admire is that it's the kind of theater that you want to see, that the relationships work and create something that's special to each other. And then you share that. There's only one Lookingglass theater. I mean, I could put like maybe knee high Knee high reminds me of Lookingglass.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that. That's high praise. I'll take that.
Weren't you creating before that?
I'd have to take a look, do a quick Google search to see when they started, but they
Probably wrong.
yeah, but they started in Cornwall, across the pond.
Right.
But I certainly admire their work. I mean, we were inspired by Cirque du Soleil was just starting up. So the idea of spectacle, that circus, but applying human-based circus, applying light storytelling, but the intense physicality and risk-taking.
A lot of magic, a lot of illusion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both illusion, but then also be open-handed illusion, right? That we're showing. That one of my favorite images from Cirque du Soleil was from one of the first shows where you would see the hemp rope pulley system, and so someone's being hoisted in the air by 5 riggers that were back there pulling across. So it wasn't being done by machine and hydraulics, it was by human machine. And that was so exciting. Theater starts then when somebody walks in your lobby and how you've created your lobby displays or that interactive experience, how someone, when someone calls your box office, what is that interaction? That's theatrical, right? That is a connection. That is a human connection. And so for me, that's the part that we teach. Front of house is an art. That I work with faculty that are actually measured on their research and creative activities. And so those that work in arts administration, that's their art. And so it must be treated as such. That's for me why I feel hope in this online experience, that we are making live theater right here with the tools that we have. I'm trying to think what else about Lookingglass that I haven't covered. I mean, because you and I are so have shared so much history, there's some givens that, so I don't know if there's people watching that how much about Lookingglass, like in the shows.
The thing that I'm interested in talking to you, the reason why my picture's on the Teaching Artist website is because of you. I've worked with you, and that's how I got into being a teacher with them. But that dynamic of relationship is something that's hard to explain to young artists.
Yeah.
That's a Lookingglass when you say it. The image of the Tony Award winning theater is different than the relationships between you and the founders and the ups and the downs, what it takes for a band to continue.
Right? It's cultivating unconditional love and gratitude. That's, to me, that's my practice. How I don't even remember who told me this now, but a really smart person said to me, there's 2 kinds of people in the world. People that give oxygen to the planet and people that suck oxygen from the planet. And some good people give oxygen and some good people suck oxygen. And some really bad people give oxygen along with sucking oxygen. And so for me, I just am constantly like, am I giving as much as I'm sucking? I think that's going on a meme, right?
Right? Yes.
It's like really like a self-check-in every day. I guess it's this similar to like having in an intimate relationship, right? Have you overdrawn the love bank, right? It's are you making deposits? Are you leaving a room better than you found it, less toxic than you found it? Have you cleaned up the corners, right? Have you found your learning moments?
That's such great advice. I mean, because I can think about the judgments that I'll have about anything that I'm doing, the victim-based, they don't understand, or that person's a dick, or what a bitch, or anything that's just really just negative and bile-like, which I have hopefully moved out of. But
Yeah.
there's always a constant way to not make it about me and to go, what am I giving? What am I giving to that relationship, or what am I taking from that relationship always? I think about that every time I ask you for a reference letter. I'm like, am I just taking from David all the time? I'm
No,
just
because
constantly like, come on, David.
no, because I know you're going to be writing a reference letter for somebody, and you probably already are writing reference letters for folks. Let me remind you, I started this call saying it took me 12 years to get the job I'm in right now. That's 12 years of asking my gurus and my friends and peers to write me letters, right?
I
That's,
appreciate it.
yeah, well, it's one, it's my job, but two, of course, I mean, to me, that's how I can give oxygen. And, I'm not always able to, here's my work list after I get off a call from you of the stuff that I have to get done today. But I'm grateful that someone's asking me to do this work. And so I have two letters. I'm not sure if I owe you a letter today, but I have 2 letters that I owe someone today.
Right.
It's fine.
I think Eastern New Mexico University, I think I just applied for them. I have learned so much from you. If I have the opportunity to direct, most of what they're seeing is a lot of what I've learned from you. And you don't know it. It's just being in a room and watching you work and being able to go, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What does it look like when we put them together? I want people who possibly might know of your company, but don't know you, or maybe they like what I do and want to know why it is that I do what I do. It's because of you.
I've also learned from you, right? I got to take your acting class, and the thing you reminded me of is about presence and about paying attention in the moment and being patient that, okay, whatever the universe is bringing to this moment, is it happening, or is it happening now? Or, oh, wait a minute, now it's happening. It's like
Yeah.
finding that.
Am I pretending like the thing that's happening doesn't exist so I can do the thing? Am I trying to make something that's not real true?
I still remember
All right, now we're just stroking each other. But the thing I wanted to
the point that theater is, we're a band of thieves. Theater, the worst kept secret is theater doesn't exist without the other art forms. We're a composite art form. We beg, borrow, and steal ideas to create what we're creating, and theater has to constantly, in the moment, reinvent and be present in the moment, or it's not serving its purpose. It's not waking us up, shocking us to the truth.
right now. We're in a moment of time where that's what could help us.
Yeah, wake up. Right? I was just on a Zoom call with my family last night. And someone joked about, okay, let's everybody play Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, or is everybody going to be here next week? And we're like, it's funny. But it kind of, it's, let's face it, it's true. I mean, we just lost John Prine. We're losing the best and the brightest, but then, that should have been with us much longer.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Jackson, I'm talking to David. Come here.
I forget what I was going to say.
Well, this virus is going to affect us. Who's going to be taken from us before their time, or is that their time?
So that goes back to, okay, I'm alive today. We're all alive today. Let's be here now.
Yeah.
Right. What can we do better today that we screwed up yesterday?
I'm all for that.
And that's about all I can take, because I have no idea what day is today or what day is tonight. We're getting ready to produce our next show. I'm going to be directing a production of Peter and the Starcatcher. We're doing an artistic response to the 100th year unfortunate anniversary of the Greenwood Massacre, which was 100 years ago known as Black Wall Street in Tulsa, one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the country. Again, our job is to shock our audiences into seeing the present, seeing the truth, seeing seeing the story, seeing the message. So for us, how can we create a piece of art that is going to wake the audience up to be changed, charged, and empowered? So for instance, with the Greenwood Massacre, that 100 years ago, this beautiful neighborhood in Tulsa was attacked by those that were jealous of the affluence, were frankly racist against those that are Black. So OSU is working with mass communication, journalism, and geography, where we're doing geomapping to find out where were the different businesses and the different families, where did they live in the neighborhood, and then creating a docudrama around their stories, what were their dreams, what were their aspirations, and then creating mini micro performances of the different areas so you can click on. I've been very, speaking of online performance, I was inspired most recently the past couple of years by Korean American artist Bernie Su, who did his adaptation of Jane Austen novels. So you would go and see Facebook updates and Insta and watch the story, the adaptation going on through these updates. I'm really interested in how can we grow from that. And to me, that the fact that Bernie Su was doing this several years ago, now the internet's even more powerful, and we're able to create these kind of interactions. So that's for me what has turned into something we've been planning for a year now. Is there's an immediacy to creating this kind of artistic response to where we are right now. How can we make sure that we treat each other in a better way in Oklahoma today? And that's what we're trying to do. So that's my elevator pitch on an artistic response. If you need to call me back and get more info as you're editing this, feel free to. I'm happy to share anytime. We can talk about a different topic. This has been fantastic.
You covered your beginnings, the current circumstances, and the future. So I think we're good. But I'll call you back just so I can see your face again.
That's right. Maybe I'll have a more exciting wall like yours next time you call. Yeah.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, come on. No, you are. This is. I'm very impressed, and in fact, I'm gonna put something. I mean,
the programs on the wall. Those are. I mean, they're real. I went and saw those plays here in Georgia.
Yeah, I have. Let's see, Jenny and our wedding picture with the kids over here.
Oh, that's sweet. I have this.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I like your pride button there.
I'm in a snow globe.
That's really cool. Oh, that's nice.
I have all the essentials, David, and I have you.
You do.
You look fantastic.
I'm doing really well. It's funny because Jenny and I, we're a couple. We work together. So we've already spent 75% of our day together. Now we spend 100% of our day together, and luckily, we're not sick of each other yet. So that's worked out pretty good. And I need to keep that going. Well, I hope to come visit you in Georgia. You have a lot going on out there.
And likewise, I hope to visit you in your new house. We'll keep talking about it. I love you.
One-legged brother and his one-legged mother lived in a house in downtown Atlanta. One had the right and one had the left. Together they were happy as a two-legged man. Roger loved his
I think that's going on a meme, right?